Welcome to The Engaging Life, a podcast about using engagement equity to improve your relationship building skills in your personal and professional life. And now, here are your hosts, Brandon Suba and Angela Cheney.
Oh, hi, Angela. How are you today?
It's almost Christmas, which you'll probably be watching
We're
/
past.
listening.
It'll be past.
Listening to this afterwards, but
Yep.
I'm always happy during Christmas.
Are you? Just
love Christmas.
the general happiness goes with the season, and
I just love it. Everything
Are you-
about it.
are you able to like overlook or suppress the stresses? You know,
None of it stresses me out.
None of it stresses you out.
No, I think it's all
Oh,
part
that's
of the season.
So you just roll with it. What if something challenging does come about?
Well, my dad died the week before Christmas last year.
Okay, well that would be it.
Pretty challenging.
Yeah. And how'd it go? I don't think
I,
we've ever talked about that. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm not aware of
thank you.
that. I should.
thank
We
you.
should be. We've
Yeah.
known each other for quite. We've been heavily involved for the
Yeah.
last few years. I feel so. I am sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but
Right?
What
No,
do you
and
say?
it's never easy.
it was probably not my best Christmas.
Yep.
But I was still able to enjoy it and host the family and
Good.
experience the season. But so yeah, there's always challenges,
There's always challenges. That's
always.
right.
I think the only time that I can remember that I was really depressed during Christmas was when Delaney was a toddler, and it was just the two of us, and the weather was so bad we couldn't make it home.
Oh.
And so she wasn't even really old enough to spend, because she was
Right.
a year and a half old, and we had to sit at home alone on Christmas, and it was pretty depressing.
That's okay.
because it's all about the connection and the family and being around people, and
Yep. Yeah.
and
it
I
is.
wasn't able to have that. So yeah,
So that was a tough one.
that was.
I think I remember that exact one. Liz and I were to. I think we married by then. Anyways, and we
Probably about 2009.
2009. We got married in 2010. So we were engaged.
Yeah,
And we video conference or chatted. I think we were using Skype because that
Of
was like
course.
the only option then. We Skyped with both families, and then we played Wii all day long.
Oh, so you had fun.
We did have fun, but it was different.
See, I
time in
was
life.
barely newly kind of dating someone,
Oh,
and he invited me to his family's for Christmas, and I was like, that's gonna be
that is a lot.
way too much, and I didn't go. I chose to stay at home just because
Well, I understand.
I was like,
No.
that's gonna vault this to a level I ain't ready for.
That's
so
good.
I
No.
didn't go, but
Well, good. I'm
Off the
happy.
subject.
Yeah, no, I'm
completely off
happy
the
to be here.
subject.
I'm going to give my shout out though. Shout out to Melissa. I work with her, and she started listening, and she is a big fan. She gives
Wonderful.
us raving reviews. I was going to say raging, but I don't.
I think it's just rave.
Is it rave reviews?
Rave
so I
reviews,
didn't have either of the words right. Okay, so today's episode is an experience that I had, and we're going to talk about a little past history. There's going to be a history lesson today, which
Exciting.
I should never be giving history lessons, but I am today. So we're going to talk about tips. We're going to talk about
Mhm.
giving tips and tipping and what that all kind of goes for. And then I am going to travel down the path, and we say share these all the time, right?
Right.
I am really looking to make this episode to be something you can share with someone you know that is in the serving industry, like a waiter, waitress, bartender. I don't know. Some of this I think could go to early day sales.
Sure.
I would hope if you looked over the list, I would hope if you have been in sales in a while, you know what? People get complacent.
That's very
I
true.
think a big piece of this list is
it's like going back to the basics.
It is.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but when you get complacent, you forget about these things.
Yeah.
So okay. And
Okay.
okay. So let me share the story. Let me share the story of the experience that I had. So we were coming from my wife's work party, holiday party, and they just had appetizers. So we were all very hungry, headed home. And so I was like, hey, let's stop. I can use the name of the bar. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Okay. Lighthouse. It's actually right here by the new
Walkable.
location.
Walkable.
Yeah, it is. So we stopped at the Lighthouse, and I've been there before. Decent drinks,
Yeah.
nothing too crazy, and good food. but
Keno.
bar food. Do they have Keno?
They do.
Oh, Keno's. That's a winner. So we were just going to pop in. We had about an hour left because my dad was watching the kids. So we had about an hour left. And I was like, you know what? Within an hour, we can have a drink, we can eat food, and be home on time. This will be
Mhm.
great. So we go in there. I would say it's half filled. There was a basketball game, a volleyball game, and a football game. It was Thursday night football.
Okay.
So plenty of sports it's a sports bar. So plenty of reasons for people to be out there. And I would say there were 2 on the wait staff and a bartender.
Okay.
Okay. So we walk in. It's seat yourself. I know how that goes. So I seat myself, or I choose a booth, and Liz goes to the bathroom. And then they come over and she takes my order. At that point, everything seems pretty basic.
Sounds like it.
Right? No, nothing major there. So the wine is horrible, and I
Never order wine at a sports bar.
thank you. Yep, you said it. And but what started the whole snowball effect is I said, well, I'll have an old fashioned. Now, if you worked at a bar
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't have the things to make an old fashioned,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to the person that ordered it?
I'm really sorry. We don't have X, Y, and Z. I can make you this. Or would you like to order something else?
Now, this is why Angela owns a business and is very successful.
But it's also
because-
a waitress.
We'll see. Okay, but once again, we're going to say that doesn't matter.
Right.
Because she was a waitress too. Her response, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
We don't make those here.
Okay.
I almost didn't know what to say because I
Like-
was
Rudely?
the exact tone I just used. So order an old fashioned. Like you just sat down, I walked up. Maybe she said hi. I don't even remember at that point.
I would like to order an old fashioned.
We don't make those here.
Ew.
I mean, it was. So I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine. It does
Right.
involve 2 activities on making the drink, and it will bitters. I can see. Hopefully they
Bitters.
had cherries, but anyways.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, no big deal. I went to like vodka lemonade. That's fine. So Liz then sits down as she has gone over, or the waitress has gone over and put the order in. Liz sits down. I was like, hey, I don't know the name of the Chardonnay. I mean, I don't know if you'd like it or not. She's like, well, don't waste the money then. Let's not waste it. Let's just get the food to go. I was like, okay. So I stood up and yes, in the middle of the bar, I was like, hey, wait.
Right.
And I look at the bartender and I go, have you poured the wine yet? And he goes, no.
Okay.
There's a piece of me that he should have by then. Like there was a good time.
Right.
I feel, but that's overjudging. And so I was like, okay, we don't want the wine, we don't want the drinks. We're actually just gonna get our food to go. So then I looked up the waitress and I said, if you can just give us a few minutes and then come on over. She did not acknowledge me.
Okay.
And I'm like in the middle of the bar because I
Okay.
wanted to stop the drinks. And if you've listened long enough, you know I'm very loud. So then we sit and we choose our food. She gets a burger,
Okay.
pretty simple, and I got a wrap. I literally went there for the wrap. I like
Which one?
it's the Lighthouse wrap. And you
Mm,
get the awesome sauce on it instead of
sounds good.
just on it. It is very good. So we know what we're getting. But Liz said, but you know what? Get the bun on the side though, because when you get a burger to go, if they put it all together, it gets soggy.
Sure.
Okay. So then Liz goes home to relieve my dad and take care of the
you had
kids.
2 different cars?
We did because I met her there.
Okay.
Yep,
Got it.
that helps the story.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm waiting. I don't feel it was a long time because I was very judging. I was judging so much. She came over. This is where this episode came about.
Okay.
She didn't make eye contact with me once.
That's
I
bad.
I don't even know how to do that, honestly, because when she
Mhm.
came over to the table, she was looking at the other table, and we were both in the service industry. When you have things going, you kind of have to
Right.
keep an eye on things. So
Sure.
I get that. But she didn't make eye contact once. And then I have mixed feelings about this. A lot of restaurants are now doing where they just put the order in
Yes.
on the little handheld thing. Well, she used that as like her
Shield.
yes. Okay, so she's putting it in. She would ask questions once again, made no eye contact.
Mm.
And what it made me feel like. Now, I feel I am mentally bigger than this, but I always try to put myself in the shoes of just your average consumer.
Right.
What it made me feel like is I'm not important at all.
Right.
And because I pulled back on my drink and I'm taking my food to go now, you are treating me differently.
Right.
That's how I felt.
Okay.
So then I put our order in and I'm like, and you know what? I would actually like to have a drink. I will do a vodka lemonade. She's like, okay, and walks away. I really felt, I don't know, just not welcomed.
Yes.
And to me, what that has done is we have no need to go back there. And that was just the service side. So the food came out, my drink came out, it was fine. The food came out, everything. Actually, the guy that brought my drink was the other server. He was nice,
He was
made eye
cool.
contact. And I'm like, I wish I would have gotten you
Switch-
for this.
switch
one.
around.
Yes. Okay. So then we get home. My food is perfect. And when you order fries or tots, here's a little trick to go. Throw them in the air fryer when you get home.
Oh yeah, crisp them.
Yep,
crisp them right
crisp
up.
them right up. No bun to be found.
There wasn't even a bun.
I had an old package of buns. And Liz, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. And I had 2. And so I took one out. And I figured it's going to be so bad anyways. You won't even notice.
Yeah.
And it was a Hy-Vee bun, which is our local
They're
grocery
tiny.
store. They're
Yeah.
so tiny. And so I kept it on the side.
So you didn't
though.
tell her?
No, I didn't. Because it was already downhill and I already felt bad. So once again, the experience went all the way home. And a
Mhm.
piece of me is like, if you just would have made eye contact, if we would have connected,
Mhm.
if we would have been having that conversation, I feel you would have understood the bun situation. Go ahead.
And also, this is from being a server and so I go out to eat a lot.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking 3-4 times a
But
week.
you go to sit down restaurants,
Yes.
not fast food.
I go to nice restaurants.
Right.
Yes.
Nice restaurant.
Right. Oh,
You can sit down at a crappy restaurant.
absolutely. But yeah, we mostly go to nice sit down restaurants.
Okay.
And I think the only really unforgivable thing and the only thing that I will reduce a tip on is rudeness,
It's,
because it's completely controllable
yep.
and there's no reason for it.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's like if mistakes are made, okay, that can be out of your control.
Correct.
If food is wrong, if drinks are wrong, if spills are made, if there's a long wait, if there's so many things out of their control. But the one thing that is always fully in their control is how they treat you.
Mm-hmm.
And most people I know will forgive almost anything if I'm so sorry, it's really busy. I'm so sorry, we're shorthanded. I'm trying my best.
Yep.
You know, a little bit of explanation, not over the top, because I've had that too, where every time they came over, they apologized. And like, we didn't even really think anything was wrong.
Right.
But then they were doing it so much, we're like, things must really be going wrong here. You know, so an apology if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, eye contact, pleasant,
Mm-hmm.
nice. And it's like, if you really can't do that, you shouldn't be in this industry.
And we will get into that. We're going to get further into that. Okay. So history lesson time. I wish we had a sound effect. I don't even know what you would
Bing.
use. Or we can travel back in time to Italy in the early coffee days. So as a lot of you know, I worked in the coffee industry for a long time. And it seemed everywhere I worked, they gave me a video on the history of coffee. So I actually know a lot of stupid fun facts about coffee and tea.
I think we just had an outtake on your perfect bean or
See?
something,
It matters.
something
If
of that
you-
nature.
If you haven't seen the outtakes, seriously, go. They're on everything. But go to the Facebook page and scroll down. I love that they surface because I say a lot of dumb crap when we're checking the mics. And if you're watching YouTube, someone agrees. Okay, so tips. Where tips originated was in French coffee houses. So that's very espresso. Espresso came much later to America. We were very drip coffee. So it was espresso. And that takes more time than just pouring a drip coffee.
Yeah.
So what you would do is you would put your order in, and then the tip jar was at the end where you received your drink.
Okay.
And if you received it in a very timely manner, then you would tip. So TIP stands for TIPS, to ensure prompt service. So I don't like that it's very much the carrot dangling. Like,
right.
And I'm not cultured at all. I hope you all know this, but isn't France kind of known for being rude?
Yeah.
So I can very much see somebody like me like, oh, you fucker, that's that.
I
that
spit in your
that a bad
coffee.
accent? Okay, cool. We play a game called Accents here the other day, and it was a lot of fun. But I can see somebody being like, oh, that was a little too long. I'm not paying you.
Right.
So where we now see tips when, like at Starbucks, you order your drink and the tip's right there, you put it in. But what if you wait a long time? You can't go take it back. I mean, you could, but I don't ever recommend that. So what we need to realize is that tips is really all about service.
And I think a lot has changed since COVID, because before COVID, I did not feel obligated to, did not see a lot of opportunity for tipping in a non-sit down environment.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yep.
And it just wasn't a thing. To me, it's like tipping is you're sitting down, you're being served, somebody's taking care of you,
Correct.
bringing you everything, and you tip on that, because for the most part, servers get paid shit hourly.
Correct. Yep.
They're banking on, and when I was a server, we got paid like $4 an hour or something, but we got taxed on 20% over that. So really, if you didn't get tipped, I don't think it was 20, but
No, it's probably like a 5
10,
or 6%. Yeah.
if you didn't get, you're basically losing money. You were
Mhm.
paying money on stuff you weren't getting. So but people at Starbucks, people at, I'm trying to think of all different, fast food, they get paid
They do.
a fair hourly wage. So it's different. But I feel like now you're frowned upon if you don't tip everywhere.
Yep. And I really think we need to flip that culture back.
Mhm.
Because, and I worked at Starbucks. I got tips. It was nice. It wasn't much. I mean, you're talking maybe $20-$30 a week in your pocket, but I'm sorry, for a assistant manager, that ain't too bad. Or no, I guess I lost tips at management level. So for a barista,
Yeah.
it was just a little spending money. It was
Yeah.
nice to have. So I understand that. And during Christmas, people would put hundreds in there.
Yeah.
That was always
And
cool.
again, if you're going above and beyond,
Yes. Yep.
but now it's just like, oh, if you don't give them $1 for handing you a cup of coffee,
Then
they're probably talking about you behind your back,
well,
you know?
Here's what I don't get. Like the apps and stuff that they push so much, you can't tip on those.
And a lot of the time, and it's all over the place. That's, sometimes they'll hand you your thing. There's no place for a tip.
Yep.
They just tell you to go. Other times you get it and there's the big line there.
Or a lot of them now, digitally, you have to choose before it lets you go to the next.
And then you get that awkward where, like, have you ever, and it comes up and you're both looking at each other, like, what are you going to put in?
Did
And
you-
it's just like,
As a server, did you always try to run away before they would sign like the credit card and stuff because you didn't want to see the tip? You didn't
yeah.
I don't know what it was mentally. I did the same thing. There was something about like, I don't want to
Yeah.
serve. Where now I think it's very much like, come on, what are you
giving
going
me?
to give the tip? And
Yeah.
now looking back, that lady, she very much, well, once again, she had the
was
hand.
she lingering? Yeah.
I had to.
And I
you have
hate
to
that.
fix it. I know I do
because
too.
They are. They're sitting right there looking at you while you're doing it. And it's like,
Yep. And the thing of it is, when I got a bad tip, there was only one time I got stiffed, and I don't know what the night was, but I did walk out and I was like, hey, just so you guys know, there was no gratuity on there, and they just laughed at me. It was a wonderful experience, to say the
oh,
least.
I had one where I worked at a sports bar and one of my coworkers was a little hot-headed.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't get tipped for a large party. She ran out into the parking lot screaming at them. We're like, Amy, get back in here.
Yeah, let's not. You just got to bite the bullet sometimes
Yeah.
on those situations. So, okay, so that's the history of tipping. So we've talked about my experience, and I've got one more story, and then we're going to do kind of, what I experienced, what I did that I think improved on my tips. So then, as all of this lighthouse experience is in my head, we were at the zoo, and it was kind of a random slow day. I mean, it's cold now, so there's not a lot of people out there. And at our zoo, we have this beautiful aquarium, and near the end, you walk through a half tube, and you're literally in the aquarium, like sharks, and I guess they're everywhere now. When we first got it, it was a big deal.
It was pretty cool, yeah.
Okay, so there's two people sitting there, random as all get out, and I could hear their conversation because there wasn't many other people there. And the guy goes, well, no, I don't tip. I don't make enough money. Why should I give them my money? Now, happily, the woman next to him cussed him out, like told him he's in the wrong there. So I thought to myself, okay, what would be the challenge to get this guy to even put $2 on a tip, right? Just something.
I definitely think that people who do not work in the service industry don't realize how low that
Yeah.
that they need it to make their wage that they
Mhm.
get taxed on.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, if you can't afford to go somewhere that a tip is expected, don't go.
I have another thing. If you live in an apartment complex and you can't afford the garage for your BMW, don't buy a BMW.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, same
Well,
thing.
and it's, with that, it's like people make their choices. Some people, that's more important to them than other things. So I don't judge, because I used to do that all the
Oh,
time.
I judge.
I'd go buy some crappy little house with a BMW, and I'd be like, if you didn't have that, you could have a nicer house. But some people would rather have the nicer car than
That
the
is
nicer house, and that's absolutely fine.
is true.
It's not hurting anybody.
Right.
This is hurting somebody.
That's true.
You
Nope,
know,
that is true.
Somebody who is not going to tip, knows they're not going to tip, goes in and sits down and gets service, is taking up space and time
Yep.
from somebody who is going to tip. And
Yep.
it's hurting the person who's serving them.
Well, and then it hurts the other servers because if
Yeah,
I
if
have,
they're
well, I guess
sharing.
that's not tipping.
Well,
With the-
sometimes because if They
Well,
share
we
tips.
pooled. Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah.
pooled originally. But what I was thinking is the bad service side, I don't really want to go to Lighthouse again.
Right.
And there are
Oh, it
good
hurts
servers there
Yeah.
that they're never not that I'm going to make or break their bank, but it is a numbers game. And the more numbers you have, the more tips you make, the more money you make. And now that I don't really want to go back there, I'm not going to benefit any of the servers there.
So I'm going to go a little off the.
Oh,
We're still talking about it, but
going
this
off.
is more for the restaurant owners and managers.
Okay.
What do you think about tip pooling as a customer?
Okay. Oh, as a customer?
As a customer.
Never really thought of it. I guess I wouldn't know. So that I know for a fact that this place, I would slide money on the side. Like if I knew they pooled and it was a good experience, I would tip $5. I don't know what percentage,
right.
but I'd tip $5 and give them $5.
So, and they're not there. You'd be getting them in trouble.
I know.
I mean, that's not allowed.
You can't do that.
And so that's actually a really shitty thing to do because
And then they
could
get fired.
Yeah.
Well, it's all
But
good, guys.
I know.
I don't think they.
But just this past weekend, so my sister lives in Ord, Nebraska,
Ord.
which is out in the middle of nowhere. Very small, 2,000 people, I think.
They have a mayor. It's probably a cat.
They have several bars. It's actually a cute little town. Anyway,
And a subway.
So her Christmas party was last weekend, and she invited us. She's like, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine. And I'm just like, all right, okay." So Delaney and I go to her Christmas party, and they had like a prime rib dinner, but we didn't eat because I felt bad already that I got a drink. I'm like, this is going to be on a separate tab, and the waitress is like, just put it on this one. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And anyway, our waitress was very nice to us all night. The rest of the party left, including my sister. We stayed because
Or Nebraska.
how I roll. And my daughter had a crush on the singer. But
Hey!
anyway.
Oh, there's music. Not shit.
Yeah, there was music. So then we move up to the bar. And the waitress was very nice. We found out she was pregnant and she was working late and all these things. And so I was like, I'm going to give her $20. You know, she's been really nice to us all night. We didn't have to pay for our drinks. And it was in my purse. I had a 20 and I had 100. And I was very, very close to giving her the 100. You know, I'm like, it's the holidays.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 blah. And for whatever reason, I gave her the 20. And she immediately dropped it into the pooled tips.
Okay.
And I was just like, and I don't even know if she looked at it, like to see what it was.
Right. She just
dropped it right in
automatically.
and I was just like, number one, thank goodness I didn't give you the 100.
Yeah, no kidding.
And number two, if it wasn't pooled tips and if she would have gotten that and been like super grateful, I probably would have given her the 100 later.
Mm-hmm.
But
Now-
the pool, because it was like, it wasn't the whole restaurant. It was her that I wanted to give the money to.
Right. And
And
she
not
dropped.
that would bring up the tip amount. I mean, it would a little bit.
So was she the waitress and there was a bartender? Or was she the bartender that was also the waitress?
It's Ord. They try to
Right.
do everything. Yeah.
Okay. So was she the only one working though?
No.
So there were others.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then
Yes.
yeah, that's probably pooled if it went in the bucket because
Yeah.
I mean sometimes the bartender jar is for the bartender.
Right.
And
No.
they tip out.
She was
No.
our
Okay.
waitress at the table and was going back behind, but there was at least 4 others working.
No, I don't. She's just probably used to it.
So restaurant, but I'm saying restaurant management.
Mm.
I think that letting servers keep individual tips makes people tip more.
Absolutely. Yes. And so I pooled my first serving experience was pool tips. And I was like the first person hired in a year. So the crew that I got in with was pretty tight. And then we didn't hire anyone new for 2 years. I mean, this is way back in the day when you had very dedicated people
When-
to very random jobs.
T-Rexes walks the earth.
But when we started bringing new people in, they started stealing.
Oh.
So I think on the lines of the importance of people having sections and they earn their own tips, you also have to worry about stealing then too,
Mhm.
because and that's the whole, they gave me $5 extra for me. Are they stealing? Now these people were like stealing out of the pool.
Okay,
And it was
really?
very, very obvious.
Yeah.
And they all got caught and that was why I left. But then when I went to a different place, I had my section and I earned my own tips and I could see an increase on my tip wages
Mhm.
because I was earning them.
And that's the other thing, direct correlation.
Mm-hmm.
Because talk about bad morale when you know Judy over here is
Ugh.
being mean to people
Yep.
and she's getting tipped 2%. You're going above and beyond and getting 25%. But because Judy's a bitch, you're getting 10%.
Judy, and
You know,
10%.
I don't think I don't know the ins and outs of restaurant management.
Yeah.
I don't know how those decisions are made, but from a consumer, I would say I would tip more if I knew. But I mean, most of the time you don't know as
You
a
don't,
consumer.
right?
But and then also as an employee,
Yeah,
I would
think
be a
that's
lot
the
more motivated to give good service if I knew I was going to be able to directly correlate that with what I got tipped and
Well-
not have to get dinged because of Judy.
Well, and I pooled first, and then I had individual. I'm guessing most servers won't go back. Like if I was individual and had a section, then I went to a different restaurant and they're
Yeah.
like, we pool, that
You
would be
wouldn't
a
take the
hard
job?
sell. No, I don't think so. Because I knew the value I brought.
Okay.
Which, speaking of the value to bring, here's my list. Boom. All right. So here's just simple things. And here's the sad part. If you're listening to this and you strive in your industry, and if you are a server, like I said, if you're not a server, share this with a server.
Yeah,
'cause I think
everybody knows
this is
them.
good. Or sales. Somebody says, but these things, you're going to just be like, this is so basic, but it matters. And complacency
and
happens
most
too.
people, a lot of servers don't do it.
No. Okay. So number one, eye contact and smile.
Mhm.
And even if you work on phones, I've heard, not eye contact, obviously, but smiling, you can hear the smile.
Oh
through the phone.
yeah,
I'll tell you, when you walk up to a table, I always, and I'm an excitable person, I know this, but I would always smile. I would try to look everyone in the eye, even the babies and the kids,
Mhm.
to make that connection. Because guess what? It's you and me for the next hour and a half. Let's make this a fun time.
yeah.
And then a smile. And that instantly sets the tone.
Mhm.
Let's have a good time here today.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, listen and repeat things. I wrote in my measure twice,
Mhm.
cut once. You are going to reduce your risk of error
Yeah.
if you say it back to them. Because I had somebody, they did not order a chicken sandwich. I promise you they did not order a chicken sandwich. When I brought out what I put in, they said, well, I ordered the chicken sandwich. Do you know how long it takes to grill a chicken sandwich on the fly? It feels like an eternity.
Right.
It literally takes 10 minutes for food purposes of just being safe. So it took forever. I did not get tipped on that, by the way. And that was out of my control.
Right.
Okay. So then, but that's when I started repeating back.
Mhm.
Listen and repeating. And I have mixed feelings about waiters that don't write stuff down.
Yep.
And I
makes you
know
nervous.
it does because I'm very picky.
Yeah.
I want things very specifically.
Yep.
And I guess with that toast thing, that the lady literally had to write down no bun
So she wrote it
while
down
she
and
was
still got it
right
wrong.
in her thing. Yes. Yep. And yeah.
Or no bun or bun on the side. Or
I
just say-
said bun on the side. I even
edge.
said like wrap it up in foil if you
You know
could.
what probably happened?
It's
It just didn't
it's
get put into the
it's sitting
bag.
on the hot
It
pad.
wasn't even her
waiting to
fault.
go.
It was sitting over
Oh,
there and didn't get. Okay.
Well, sorry, my judgment has started.
yeah.
So don't blame the cook. Come on now. Next one, be honest. Be honest.
Mhm.
I threw the cooks under the bus often. I'm pretty sure people knew better. But we had an experience one time at a bar, and we ordered food. This was like a lunch, so it wasn't too
Mhm.
crazy busy. And we ordered food, and people sat down next to us, and then they got their food.
Oh yeah, we've
And
done
then
that.
we saw another two. And so we just pulled the waitress over and said, hey, they were here before us. I don't know if there's something about an
Right.
order. And we watched her, and she pulled another person over, and they were looking frantically through. And finally, someone came over, and he goes, I have no other way to tell you this, but your order was not put in.
Great.
And we are so
I
sorry.
mean, not great, but
Well, and then when it did show up, mine was wrong. So they did end, they comped the whole thing except our drinks. I think legally you have to pay for drinks in Nebraska anyways. Lunch drinks. That didn't sound great. It was a beer. It was just a beer. I promise.
what's they all say?
And so that was a good experience. That was good. But once again, he was honest,
yeah,
and that made it better.
I agree.
So be honest, and in sales too. Be present.
Mm,
And that's where when she was looking everywhere else but me, I just felt like I don't really matter.
right.
And I'm sorry, we live in the world where we want to matter.
Well, and when you're going out to eat, that is a special experience.
is.
You know, even when you're like me and you go out to eat 3 or 4 times a week, every one of those experiences is special to me. It's the way I connect with the person I'm with, whether that's my daughter, my husband, my friend. And I feel like the whole staff of a restaurant, but especially your server, is like the ambassador of that time.
It is.
And so when they're rude or not present, or it's like you're ruining my experience.
Mhm.
When you took that job, you agreed to be the ambassador of people's good times.
Yes.
And it's possible, you know, I get to go out to eat all the time. I'm very, very fortunate. There are some people who might only get to go out to eat once every 6 months or
Yep.
something to a nice restaurant. And if I get bad service, that's 1 out of 4 that week. Sucks, but oh well.
It'll make
But
the
imagine
podcast,
if
but
that
that's
is somebody who saves up and
Yep.
saves up and and it's a special occasion or this or that.
Yeah.
That's a precious gift.
I
know,
like that.
And if you're, that's a responsibility you take on as a server,
I think you should.
especially a nice restaurant. I mean,
We
'cause
should
those
make
are the
a training
ones that
video for restaurants
we should.
and have them. No, but I agree, and it is sad when the service ruins the experience.
Yes.
Because you have the best food, best drinks ever.
Oh yeah, it's all about the service.
It's all about the service.
Although I'm a foodie, so
so
and-
it's
and-
a little bit about the food.
and a drunk, so
A little bit, and a little bit. We don't make those here. So get out of here, old fashioned.
Get the hell out of here.
Let's see. Did I say be present? Be polite. And once
Mhm.
again, these are very, very basic things.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, the kill you with kindness was a big thing for me when I waited tables because I would have rude people and I didn't want them to ruin my day and I really didn't want to ruin their day and get all
Yeah.
huffy.
yeah,
So I just killed with kindness and took the once again, you're the front line, you're the ambassador
yeah.
and not
And
everybody's
it gets to
nice.
be that customer's always right sort of thing.
Yeah,
If the customer's rude, doesn't give you the right to be rude.
correct. You are there to serve them.
Yep.
And then the last one, and once again, this is very focused on how can you improve your tips or how can you make your life better if you're in the service industry. Give the customer an experience they don't normally get. And I'm very fortunate where I'm naturally excited and I've actually calmed down as I've gotten older and I waited tables
Scary.
in my 20s. So you can only
Scary.
imagine guns a-blazing. But that doesn't mean that you have to give them free food.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you have to do something completely out of the ordinary. I will tell you, if you follow the list with the eye contact, being present, honest, listening, repeating, and you're polite,
You are giving them an experience.
you're giving an
there.
experience they're not getting
And
everywhere else.
But I think there's a little bit higher level, and I'm going to put this on there because it's something we experience a lot. So my husband and I have a date night every week.
I love
We
that.
go to the same place every week, which is really weird for me because I like to experience, but it's become I'm also very big on tradition and rituals.
Yep.
So this has become a big thing. So we go to this place and previously I don't know if she was the hostess or anyway, we're there every week at the same time. And so she knew us
Oh, yeah.
and we always wanted to sit at the same place. We never needed a menu and we always had the same drink order.
Oh.
Okay. And so she would just, oh, hi guys, lead us right there. It was a very seamless. She didn't even need our order. Well, the staff changed. And now there's a guy who is the host. And it has now we have probably been there 8 to 10 times with him being the host. Every time there's ice in our water, which we always order. He always gives us a menu. Ask what we want to drink. And Todd is just like, does he not
Yeah.
recognize us by now?
Right. And I think I always love the people when I was very heavy in networking. I always love the people that if I remembered their name, they're like, wow, I'm really impressed because you need to know a lot of names. But when you have at Starbucks, I mean, I knew people's names, their drinks, and I was making it when I
Yeah.
came them in the parking lot. That is where you should strive to have your staff. If you're the manager or business owner or a restaurant, that's where you want to strive to have your staff at because that made your experience like no other.
Mm-hmm.
And that brought you back.
Yes.
And now you're going back for tradition.
For tradition and really strong margaritas.
Strong margaritas. The food ain't bad. I know what restaurant she's
he's not-
talking about.
And that's the thing. He is not rude.
Sure.
He smiles. If it wasn't, I guess the standard had been set by the one previously.
Oh, yep.
And then also it's like, yeah, we come here all the time. And how
If you
hard
have
is it?
consistency, like same
Yeah.
day, night, and that's an easy one. Like that's
It
an
should
easy
be.
one.
In my
The-
opinion.
and the-
And we don't expect, the other one didn't know our names. I don't know if
Sure.
we ever told her our names. It wasn't that. It was, oh, they don't need a menu. Oh, they like to sit here.
The little things.
Yeah.
I'm even impressed when they stop putting fruit in my drinks. Like if I get a vodka
Mm.
lemon and they put a lemon on the side, the first thing I do is I take the lemon off and I set
Yeah.
it on the. I try to use a coaster sometimes
A
on the table.
huge one. So going back to like the repeat things and
Yep.
this and that. So there's a couple things that I always do. And I can tell you that 90% of the time it doesn't get done. I always order a water without ice.
Yeah, I do too.
Guess how many times it comes with ice?
I have a pretty good track record.
Really?
I do.
Oh, I would say the majority of the time I get it with ice.
Really?
Mhm.
It's when they come to refill it and they're trying to not let ice
Yeah.
drop down. I look at them.
Yeah, it's like
You can put ice
not
in
a
that.
big deal.
I just wanted a big.
sometimes I feel like I get more ice when I order it.
Here's
And-
your extra cup of ice, ma'am.
Yeah. And then the other thing I almost always do, especially if I get fries, I always get ranch on the side. Or whatever
Mhm.
dipping sauce. This is what I'll ask for. I'm like, you got some good dipping sauces, some aiolis,
Yeah.
or if there's any sort of sauce on my meal, I'll ask for extra. I'm
Nice.
a sauce maniac.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
I would say that one is 50 to 60% of the time it doesn't come.
Yeah. I don't know. The ice they have control over.
Yeah. Well, they
The-
have control over checking that the
They have
order's right.
checking it. Yeah, but then you got to yell at the cook staff, and if they're being butts that day, they won't give you the ranch. I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings, and the ranch
Okay.
thing was just
That was a big
not-
deal.
It was dumb because and then we got to wrap this up. But it was when it was like 25-cent wing night, and ranch
Oh.
normally comes if you order wings, but on that night you had to pay extra, like
Okay.
25 cents for it. Oh, people lost their minds. You don't even know.
I don't doubt it.
Don't even know. Okay, anyways, so we've all had phenomenal experiences. We've all had bad experiences at restaurants, and it is an experience, and that is what it was meant for. The reason I wanted to bring it up on this show is there are some very simple things. If you are in the service industry, it's been a roller coaster these last few
Right.
years, but we're kind of back to normal.
And I'm sorry, I got one more thing.
Yeah,
to
no,
say
go
about
right
it.
ahead.
I do feel like that has been an excuse
Yes.
since COVID. Oh, we're short staffed. Oh, we're this. Oh, we don't have, doesn't give you an excuse to be rude.
It doesn't.
And I feel like we are still expected to tip above and beyond
Yep.
based on COVID sort of things when we don't get good service.
Yep. And that's why I thought this episode would be great, because it's time to kind of reset that button. And hey, if you're a management, if you own a restaurant, maybe it's time you do a little secret shop or something,
Yeah.
because this may be what your customers are experiencing, and they're not going to come back.
Yep,
They're
I
not gonna
agree.
come back. So we love reviews, right?
do.
And we always like shares. I gave a shout out today. So, I mean, if you see Angela and I out and about and you're like, hey, I've listened to every episode of The Engaging Life, and if you can tell me what episode number 4 is about, I'll give you a shout out. That easy.
Exciting.
I'm just joking. If you just even mention you've listened to either of us, we'll give you the shout out there. So I guess that's it. And
That's it.
we look forward to talking to you on the next podcast.